Excellent. So I see Sheikh Salman with us this morning for us, and it's the evening for you, Salman. What time is it for you?
First off, well, good morning and good evening. It's 6 p.m. here. It's an honor to be with you guys. So Brad and Judy, thank you for having me. And Francis, good to see you as always.
Absolutely. So Brad, we'll let you take over.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And Sheikh, it's an honor to have you here today as well. Sheikh Salman bin Isa Al-Khalifa, the CEO of Bahrain International Circuit, and of course, a big premier event there coming up March 3rd through 5th with Formula One, but there are so many more things happening at your circuit as well. And Sheikh, welcome. We really appreciate you being a part of Race Industry Week.
Thank you, Brad. Just call me Salman. It's easier.
Salman, okay. Thank you.
But it's it's great to be here. Very honored to join this great conference. I saw the panel before, so honored to be with great people.
It is as well. Well, let's talk about Formula One first of all, because that is obviously the premier series when it comes to motorsport and what you're running at your facility. We've had a huge surge in interest of Formula One, not just here in America, but really worldwide. It's been incredible to see what's gone on over the past several years. Now, from your perspective as a promoter, how do you see that? And how do you also see it from the regional perspective as well?
I think Formula One is in a good place. I mean, a lot of people talked about that. Viewership is 500 million. I mean, for us, we get 200 million if you take all the digital and ticketing. 100 million people watch our race, and for a small island, that ticks the box for us. You know, the whole idea of building this racetrack was to put Bahrain on the map and tell people where the small island is. But from that, I think it's done a tremendous job. There's so many elements. Be it the season, 2022 has been fantastic. I think 2021 started it with the end of that season and what happened in Abu Dhabi with Hamilton and Max and the FIA. And then, Formula One, I guess, is in a new era. Biggest rule change, new car, everything that, and we've seen it all through the season. Everyone touched on Netflix. I think Drive to Survive has been the biggest help for us, not only diversifying the fan base, but for us showing behind the scenes and I have people that were with me in high school, girls that were with me in high school calling me, "Oh, you're in Formula One. Can you tell us about this?" And they know sometimes more than me. I mean, it's surprising, but for us, it's been tremendous. I remember Angela, Lewis's trainer, walking down the pit lane and kids running after her trying to get her autograph, and that wouldn't have happened like 5-6 years ago. So it's in a good place, and I think regionally as well. I mean, we started in 2004 as the first track. 2009 Abu Dhabi came on board, and then a couple of years ago Saudi now and Qatar joining. We've always asked, what are you going to do about the competition? Are you worried? More races in the region? I'm never worried about competition, but I think for us, it's still building that fan base. And we've seen it. We've seen it in Saudi. Our race was 1 week before them. And yet, right before that, the number of Saudis that came across the bridge to Bahrain was much more than the years before. So it's in a good place. And I think it's moving in the right direction.
You mentioned the Netflix documentary and the series, rather, which has just been phenomenal. Now, what makes our sport, motor racing, unique is compared to any other sport, whether it's worldwide football to American football, basketball, whatever. In all of those other sports, we see the athletes. In motorsports, we see the race car. In the case of Formula One, we have an open cockpit and we still see at least a helmet, but the popularity of the drivers and getting to know their personalities and having fans getting to really have an understanding of who they are. How much do you think that's actually helped this surge?
Well, tremendously, and not the drivers for sure, and behind the scenes, what they go through, and whether they're in the driver's briefing and they're joking about what the race director says or stuff like that, but also the characters that come out behind the scenes, behind the drivers, the trainers were touched on Angela and all that. It makes them more real. I think historically we always looked at Formula One drivers as like up there, and I can never be that person. Now when you see them day to day and going through the same stuff and joking and having fun and still being serious when the helmet is on, is quite interesting, and it brings them closer to the fans. And I think with a young fan base, that's what they want to see.
You know, and the other part of it as well, especially when people become new fans of motorsports, maybe they don't always exactly understand what's happening. They might see two cars racing close together. They might see one car, you know, going out there and just pulling away from the field. But to have something where now more and more people come into this and they have an understanding of what's actually happening on the racetrack, you know, some things that might be subtle, but all of a sudden you understand the meaning of it because you've been able to see what happens behind the scenes. What do you think that's done as far as the education of the fan base?
I mean, to me, the biggest one for me, and there was a big talk about this halo and what's going to happen with that car and everything. And then to see the graphics put on that halo and sharing all that information of braking and speeding and G's and all of that really makes it interesting, and people translate. You know, it's hard to see it on the ground when we say they slow down from 200 miles or 300 kilometers in 70 meters or a bit less, 5 Gs, all of that. And then when you see that, and they do that for 57 laps on our track, but others around, it's quite, you know, I always take people down to turn one right before they brake, and then they see it and they're like, how do they do that? So you need to, it's hard to translate, but once that information comes out, people get more attached to it and closer to it.
Yeah, it's really neat. Well, we mentioned the Formula One race weekend that you have coming up in March 2023. But if you go to the website of the Bahrain International Circuit, the BIC, it's amazing the variety of events that you have at your facility. What else goes on there?
I mean, for us, I mean, there's a lot. I think I'll start with where it started from. I mean, Bahrain's a small place, but we started our race in 2004, but the Motor Federation was set up in 1952. So just to say a little history of where that started. And we started with rallies, David Richards with the Rockman's Challenge and the rallies, drag racing. Drag racing is something, it's our grassroots level racing. We've had the championship running since 2004, 9 categories in the cars, 4 categories in bikes. Pro Mod is our highest category, so we don't have any top fuel yet. But we've had, Ricky Smith, Shannon Jenkins, Frank Manzo, all of these crew chiefs that were for us, big people in Pro Mod, come here to Bahrain. Stevie Jackson, interesting. I mean, they raced here. All these crew chiefs came and racers. And then Bahrain won, which was a team racing here in 2019, joined the NHRE Championship and won with CV Fast, I think 19 and 20. And for us, it kind of translated everything that we do at the racetrack. We used to break world records here, and everyone would say, I'm not sure about Bahrain. Eyebrows were up and everything. So when they won that, it really put our track and the team that do this here on the map. That's racing. Other than racing, other than drag racing, we have 2019 50 events at the track. So Formula One, World Endurance Championship are the big international races, FIA races, our drag racing championships, our 2-liter championships. It goes on, off track, Comic-Con, using all our IT infrastructure, all the fiber that we have to do the gaming events, international IGN conferences. Basically, how can we utilize the track throughout the year and keep everyone busy? And so it's been really interesting for us. And we, pre or after, post-pandemic, we're trying to build that up again.
Yeah, definitely. I heard a racetrack promoter one time say, well, we're busy 500 days a year. And, the meaning of that was, you might have something running on the inside oval. You might have something on the road course, something out in the parking lot or inside one of the facilities. Yeah. And I know you keep...
Something, Brad, I forgot to mention. There's another side of what we do here. So with Mumtalakat, which is our holding company, they also have an ownership in McLaren. So they own McLaren, which does IndyCar, Formula One, Formula E, Extreme E. With the other stuff, with ProDrive, and they also have a partnership with ProDrive also. They do the Dakar rally with the BRX, or Bahrain Raid Extreme, I think it's called. And so holistically, what we're trying to do is not just build the racetrack, but also bring all the levels of motorsports under one umbrella in Bahrain, and they feed off each other, and we can get more testing here, more car events here. So it's quite holistic.
Yeah, it really is. You know, and you talk about drag racing with everything that you have there. You mentioned no Top Fuel yet. Are you working on any plans for that?
Well, look, it's a challenge, I won't lie. We've had cars here. It's just an educational process of how do you build that up. Right now with Bahrain One Racing in Pro Mod, if they move up and they try to do something, we've had other teams in the region try to do that, but it wasn't sustainable. So we want to do it the right way and build it the right way and get the right education, people understanding the costs, and then we'll probably look at that.
Yeah, hey, well, for sure. I think it would just be phenomenal to be able to see that happen there. Well, post-pandemic demand for motorsports, you know, people have been able to come back, and you guys really helped usher that in as well with what you were able to do. Have you seen activity close to the levels of what we had pre-pandemic in 2019?
Yeah, I think before we go post-pandemic, the interesting thing for us in the pandemic is how busy we were. I mean, from November 2020 to March 2021, we had a World Endurance Championship, 2 F1 races, pre-season testing, and F1 in 2021. So we ran a lot of events during the pandemic. If we said 350 during 2019, I think 2020 we did 150, 2021 a bit less than that. So it was pretty busy. And then post-pandemic, obviously 2022, we touched on F1. It was our best year ever. We were sold out, all our hospitality, all our tickets. I think karting is a good barometer for that because it's easier access. People come in, and we've seen those numbers pass our 2019 numbers. We've got a month to go, but I think we're in good shape to hit those numbers. And moving forward, I think for us, we're trying to, you know, in the summer here, it gets pretty hot, but people say, okay, so in the summer you have nothing going on. But our sales team are so busy trying to sell those 300 plus events in the summer. And so we're slowly seeing these events coming back from manufacturers, from test days, from all of that. So I'm very excited to this. They're doing a fantastic job, but we on the small numbers, we're passing 2019, but we need, you know, those were good years, so we need to continue that.
Yeah, you know, I'm curious as well. You know, it's one thing to want to come see the Formula One race, to want to come out there for some drag racing or karting, whatever else you might have. People do come to see those events. I'm a big fan of venues as well, and I think it's great whenever you drive up to a venue and it looks like something really cool is happening inside, and the visuals for your venue as well for the Bahrain International Circuit are just incredible. How many people do you see coming to your facility because they want to see the facility, because that's the destination?
Well, we work on that. So I think we have a lot of cruise ships that come to the island, and so we put that program as well. On a day-to-day, I don't know the numbers exactly, but it is popular. We do have those tours where we do every other day. Or I mean, I see them. One of my first jobs was that. So I always join those tours and I continue. The guy's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm taking over. Because it's something that I always love to do. You talk about a venue that you're proud about, you're passionate about. For us, it's just a journey of, you know, explaining information, getting that smile, creating that memory, and then they come back. And so for us, yeah, the design of the track, I mean, we were the first track in the Middle East, and it was like a desert track where we had our wind tunnels, our tent-like structures, but we wanted to be a modern facility. And I think that best translates what Bahrain wants to do. It's got its culture and heritage and all that, but it wants to be a modern country.
Yeah, it is pretty spectacular. Well, let's talk about the future of motorsport as well. What are you guys doing as a venue to be ready for that? What do you see in the future?
I think for us, and it's pretty clear, the impact on the environment is something that we feel coming back from all our stakeholders, be it Formula One have their targets and they know what they want to do. The FIA have their star tier system where every track should be 3 stars or more. Our customers ask for that as well. So I guess being socially responsible is something that's very important, and we kind of have to react and be ready for that. We did in 2022, we built a solar project that covered our energy requirements for the 2022 race. We have more projects like that. During the World Endurance Championship, we started our Green Ticket Initiative, where we, part of our ticket sales and the sponsor match, that number went into mangrove planting and all those government initiatives. And so we need to showcase that. And so venues have to be, I feel, venues have to be ready for stakeholders that ask that, customers that ask that, at all levels of it, be it building management systems or showcasing how your energy has gone down. But it's something quite challenging, and you have to kind of be always on top of it. But we're working on it. It's a journey, as they say, and we're on it.
Yeah, it is a big journey for sure. And obviously how that changed what happens with the on-track product as well, and where things go in that direction. And I know even Steve Phelps from NASCAR was just on before you talking about, sustainability and, what happens if we have an electrical component. In fact, we even had a question from the chat about sustainable fuels. And maybe, you sit on a lot of boards, you're very involved in racing, even just beyond the BIC. Where do you see the future in motorsport going when it comes to things like that?
I mean, yeah, OEMs also have a part in that because they're involved. I don't know. My personal opinion is going to be weird, maybe, but I remember learning about motorsports and hearing these words about paddock and grid and all, and I'm like, where did this come from? And it came from horse racing, the colors in Formula One, British racing green, Ferrari red, all of that. And it came from horse racing, where the jockeys had to pick their colors. And so what happened with horse racing, I guess after the invention of the combustion engine, horses were free to go racing. Because in the past they were used for agriculture and all that. For me, I look at it a bit that way. If we have hybrids or whatever, or biofuels and all that, will that free up racing to just go racing? Now, we're not there yet, but it's kind of something that I'd love to see. I'm very passionate about racing, and so maybe that's my excuse. But biofuel, I think for me, is the easiest. There's a whole other infrastructure behind, even the OEMs. If you go electric, what do the garages do? Where do the gas stations do? I mean, there's a whole other infrastructure behind that. So changing the fuel is the simplest form. And we've seen it in other venues. I remember, so part of our initiatives of going green and all that, we have a sponsor, which is Gulf Air, which is the title sponsor of the Grand Prix. They have a fly pass with their plane. That plane has to run on biofuel for it to be part of the Grand Prix. And so that example is showing you that even even in the airline industry, they're doing that. So hopefully we can come up with a process of doing that. Yes, e-racing, electric racing, Formula E, we're involved in that. But that serves another purpose. And yeah, I think hybrid is probably the best.
Yeah, and it does seem like there's a lot of direction toward that as well. But I think that's a really interesting perspective, and I like how you you talk about the history of that. And we were here, then we went to here, and where we go still remains to be seen for sure. Your background in racing, Salman, you're a racer yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I joined the track because I thought that's the easy way to drive on the track. And that was the worst decision ever, because the more busy we got, the more they were having fun outside. So I think my first race was 2005 in Super Cup. Didn't get far. I think I crashed on the second lap. But I didn't have experience in Super Cup. But I've always loved racing. I still do it when I can. We've got a Porsche challenge, a Cup challenge that's based actually at the track, and they just sent me a message about testing tomorrow, so maybe I'll do that, and the new GT3, which I haven't driven. Yeah, for me, it's it's pride, passion, and performance. If I can do that in my job or when I put the helmet down, it's what I love. And I've been lucky enough to lead an amazing team that do a fantastic job, that give me a chance to jump on the track. And a lot of people say, is it stressful? And for me, my solution is 5 laps on a track in a great race car, and I'm happy. So I don't need to fly anywhere. I don't need to be on a beach. Well, it's an island, but I don't need to go skiing or anything like that. But yeah, racing to me is yeah, in the blood.
I like that. 5 laps on the track, and there you go. Also, how does that help, though? You know, one thing that I've discovered is, especially with you, with having experience, understanding what it's like on the race car side of things. You obviously understand what it's like on the promoter side and the business side of things, and being able to speak that language. And what I'm talking about, if you're talking to a driver, you understand some of the language that they're talking about, maybe in a way that people who have never been behind the wheel do. How much does that help you in your job?
It helps me a lot. I think with the team, it kind of helps you have empathy, and that helps them believe and continue this journey that we're on. I think as race drivers, yeah, there's structures for that. Even though sometimes I agree with them, you know, the FIA will have their stewards and they'll have to run through that. Even though personally I say, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, for me, from the safety side, I get it maybe more, because sometimes that's really important for us, especially in drag racing. You know, you see something, there's so much riding on those few seconds that they go down. So I always try to push that with the team. I'm there on the ground with them. It's a serious thing with everyone, not just drag racing, but that's a quick result where things can go wrong really, really fast. So the prep, how we prep the track, get that ready, is something that we all take pretty serious. And I always go down and check, and I'm making sure that the guys are happy with it. Obviously, the track will always be wrong. It's never the car in drag racing, but for safety, we try to do our best.
Yeah, what happens leading up to an event that maybe people don't see? I mean, obviously, you guys are preparing for the show, and you're preparing for all the people coming into your front gate. But from a sanctioning body perspective, you know, I know there's a lot that goes on ahead of time to make sure that everything is prepared for the competition. What happens?
I mean, there's two sides to it. The sporting side, obviously, under the Motor Federation, and we work closely with them. They're based at the track and run by a great team. And so we work with them and what they need and get everything prepped, track, everything, all that. During the Grand Prix, we've got about 3,000, 4,000 people working under us. And for them, it's different areas and what they do. So we have now we're down to 2-week, a meeting every 2 weeks. Closer to the race, it'll come weekly. And it's a checklist. We've been doing this for 19 years as well. So there's a bit of experience where we say, are we good? Yeah, we're good. But behind the scenes, it's the challenges are the surprises. And even though you say, you know, you're ready for it, they always, you know, weather is always an issue. Every year we call it event weather. As much as we can prepare for it, there's a bridge that has to be hit by one of the suppliers, because it happened every year. And every year I wait for that. I'm like, did someone hit the bridge? Because then we can have the race. And as a racer, you know, you also become superstitious with these things. So, but generally behind the scenes, my first job was media center. That is a machine that you just have to keep it working, keep the oil, check it, make sure they're all happy. The same thing with all the levels. We only get the problems. The fans, the people, they don't see that. So throughout the weekend, I might have 10 or 15 problems that come up to me. And I have to remind myself, the show goes on, it's going to be fine. You only see this. And I'm sure other people in different industries see that as well.
Yeah, well, definitely. You know, in my experience on the racetrack side of things, I've always felt that, you know, I don't want to have anything else on my checklist when it comes to the week of, because at that point you're starting to put out fires, and then just how intense things get until the time you open the gates. And once you do that, then obviously there are some more fires to put out and all of that. But preparation is amazing, and that's why, you know, it's great when the people who are coming into your venue don't see how hard you had to work to get it that way. That means you did do your job.
I think, yeah, and I was going back to I think the biggest one for us was Grosjean's accident. And we did a lot of training on, major incidents, what happens, whatever. And it was amazing to see how all that training just kicked in. I was actually surprised that everyone was calm. We walked, it was lap one, so it was early on, but radio went to this channel, started walking to my office. And when I got there, everything was set. People were ready, everything. And luckily, 28 seconds, he was out of the car. So we didn't have to continue anything else. But, changing the barrier in a couple of hours, getting the race finished. And then the next day, finishing that barrier back to the FIA standards and continuing the race was a proud moment for the team here.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of questions from the chat. First of all, Mike Lewis said, grateful for your role in boosting drag racing in Bahrain and in your region. It really is phenomenal. It's
a collective effort. It's not just me, but we're lucky also to have passionate fans. Mike, is a dear friend. He knows me early on going to Indianapolis and in Denver and trying to build this. It's been, when we started in 05, 06, we had ideas, and now we're just continuing that story. But for us, it's a journey, and we're still pushing forward.
Yeah, that's great. Another question: how has the increase in women in motorsport benefited your circuit, and even as an extension of that, youth as well? People coming in at an earlier age now.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, our karting championship, we've got all the Rotex championships categories there. So Micro Max, Junior Max, all of that. And that has a high number of girls racing in them. And that's interesting. I mean, that's for us something that we're following up. We're actually building the next stage of, once they're finishing their senior karting, where do they go on to? Drag racing, we've had a few female racers there. Circuit racing, not so much, but our track days obviously are filled. For us, it's the younger crowd. It's creating those memories. It's how do we keep that going, and teaching their parents also what they need to know. Sometimes the kid is enthusiastic and I want to do this, and the father is supportive, but he doesn't know. So in karting, we've done something we call Kartopedia, where we teach the parents how to maintain an engine, all do that, tire pressures, all that, because karting should be just a father or mother and their kids just going to the track and having a good weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Salman, it truly was a pleasure talking with you here today. We appreciate you being a part of Race Industry Week. Looking forward to the big F1 weekend, March 3rd through 5th, but obviously everything else that you have going on at the Bahrain International Circuit.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Of course. Thank you, Salman. Thank you for your time. I mean, delighted to have you. And I wanted the industry to hear your story. It is, it's you're doing so much there. And also it's, and in the region, you said it perfectly. It's growing. It's really you didn't talk about sand racing, did you?
No, I didn't. I mean, Bahrain's a small island. We don't have a lot of the sand dunes, but Abu Dhabi and Dubai are leading that. I don't think we have sand dunes here, but anyway.
But no, so that's there's a lot of racing activities in the region, and Salman and his family and the Bahrain International Circuit has been pretty much the backbone, the foundation of the expansion of the industry there. So we're delighted to have you on, Salman. Thank you very much.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to EPARTRADE.